Hey class, today I want to talk a little bit about external analysis, specifically Porter's 5 forces for determining profitability in an industry. I want to talk about Back 40 Beer Company out of Gadsden. You may have heard of them, maybe not. They've only been making beer since about 2009, so they're pretty new to the game when you compare them to like other types of beer or beer companies that you may know of. But they were doing some pretty amazing things out of Gadsden. Alabama has some pretty outdated laws concerning size of beer you can produce or percent of alcohol or stuff like that date back to like Prohibition era legal stuff with that. They've already changed a bunch of stuff in that field to where it makes it easier for microbrewers to get a start, especially in the state of Alabama and the South in general. But back to Porter's 5 forces. First off, for the beer industry in general, the threat of new entries right now is pretty high. You see microbreweries and craft breweries popping up all over the country. There are barriers, economies of scale come into play here, especially with the big beer producers. It's a lot easier for them to produce that next bottle or that next 6-pack or whatever, because they've got these huge infrastructures in place already. Back 40, they're kind of a smaller operation. They've expanded worldwide in their few years that they've been around, but you have to keep that into account too. And capital requirements are also pretty high for this industry because you have to buy huge equipments, huge vats, and huge amounts of ingredients and buildings and staff and everything. So there's threat of new entry every day because it's not a hard market to get into. If you have a good recipe, you can sell beer. But there are those things you do have to worry about. Next, power suppliers. Suppliers for beer are generally farmers for your ingredients, for your whatever type of beer you're making, whatever you're using in that. So the farmers are supplying basically the ingredients for these beer companies, and they have some bargaining power. And I'm going to get into power of buyers with the actual Back 40 Beer Company because it's kind of a mutually beneficial relationship for them. They could raise the price of their crops or whatever that they're doing, but that's not going to stop these beer companies from just going to a different farmer. So they don't have a ton of bargaining power for the suppliers. And then going on to the power of the buyers have a huge say because farming is getting kind of outdated, especially in America. It's a very important industry, but there's nothing stopping these beer companies from saying, hey, I'm just going to go to this next farmer and buy it for cheaper, because there are those options. So what Back 40 is doing is they're keeping everything local. They're trying to sustain local entrepreneurs and local farmers and just local industry, especially in the state of Alabama. And they're also doing some really cool stuff in the Gulf, which I can't really go into in this short video. But power suppliers and power buyers for this industry is kind of mutually beneficial. If the suppliers establish a good relationship and don't try and jack up their prices, the buyers are going to keep buying from them, and they're going to keep these farmers in work, which is hard to do as a farmer right now because, I mean, we've seen it decline over the past 100 or so years. Farmers are just going away. So suppliers, not a ton of sway there. I mean, the buyers have a ton of sway. The suppliers, not so much. They want to keep these big contracts with these beer companies, especially the ones that are supporting locally owned. Threat of substitutes. Obviously, you've got liquor for a substitute or anything else entertainment-wise. You don't necessarily have to even stick to alcohol because people drink. Well, some people drink for bad reasons, but some people drink for fun and entertainment. So anything in the entertainment industry is a substitute for beer, if you want to put it that way. Rivalry among existing competitors, just like other industries, this is one of the main things. And like I stated in the first part of my video, these microbreweries and craft breweries are having to compete with people who have been drinking Bud Light since they were 14 years old, and they're trying to get in and say, hey, drink my English style brown ale or my IPA and stuff that like a bunch of Southerners really hadn't heard of until recently. So they have to worry about this rivalry extensively. And that's about all the time I got. I know I went a little over. Hard to squeeze everything into a couple minutes. But there's Porter's 5 forces concerning Back 40 Beer Company. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.